Hey you, my name is Jer and I'm the tech lead for Global Voices. And in this quick video, we are going to talk about the Loco Translate translation plugin and how we will use it on Global Voices and some of the intricacies of how it works specifically in the Global Voices sites, where we also have another translation tool that we will talk about as part of it. So it's a bit complicated, but hopefully if you follow along, it'll all make sense in the end. There's also this text guide. I'll put the link in the description of this video so you can read through it. It's got most of the same information and it might be updated. So if you find something isn't working the way it seems to in the video, check out this document and hopefully it will make sense. All right, so we'll start with an example of the post editor. And right now we could see it's all in English, so there's no need to translate it. But the thing I wanted to show you was that Loco Translate, the Loco Translate plugin that we'll look at, affects the site based on the language that's currently active. And that's different in GV from the language of the site, which is sometimes not English, even though the site itself is in English. So right now I'm on the Spanish site, but the backend is in English, even though we would be putting Spanish content here. So there's two ways to change it. One, if you are just a user, you can change it for yourself by going to your profile, edit profile, that's where I am, and it says language, and you could choose a language. So I could change my personal language to Spanish by choosing Español, update profile, and now we could see in the sidebar, everything is in Spanish. WordPress itself already has a translation in Spanish, and that's what's loaded. And if we come back to the editor, we'll see that everything in the editor becomes Spanish, editar la entrada, publicar, etc. But some things aren't in Spanish because there's no translation of the Global Voices plugin. And this could apply to other plugins, but the main reason I'm setting this up is so that people can translate the Global Voices plugin. So we use it as an example. So we could see here in the Lingua box, GV Lingua translation is not translated. This thing that says source post URL is not translated. And some of these messages about featured image are not translated because they are drawn from the GV plugin rather than from WordPress itself. So what we want to do is translate that, and we can come and do that by going to Loco Translate. So if Loco Translate is active, you should see it in the bottom of the sidebar after edit flow. You'll only see it if you're an administrator, I think. So if you don't have access, talk to me. If you don't see it, in general, talk to me because I might need to go into the plugins and install it. And there's also a thing on the server I might have to do. So if you're a site administrator just wanting to start using Loco Translate, let me know and we'll figure it out. If someone has told you to use Loco Translate, then we'll continue assuming it's already active. So we come to Loco Translate, and here there are themes and plugins active, and I will actually come here and change this back to English because I assume you speak English. That's why we're doing the video in English. But all right, so if we come back to Loco Translate, because of course Loco Translate itself is translated, we could choose a theme or a plugin. Right now, GV plugin, the one I want to translate, is up here because I was already messing around with it. But normally you would come down and find it in the list. So I would come and say GV plugin, click on it. That opens up the list of available languages. And right now, there's none because this is what you would see on a fresh site. The plugin only exists in English. That's what this template says. And so if we want to add a translation, we will do so using the new language button. That's the only one you really need. And then we're going to come here. We have a few options, but it's pretty simple. Pretty much choose one of these languages, if at all possible. Hopefully a language that summarizes the one you need is in here. Otherwise, you could put custom language. I'm going to put Spanish from Spain, which is the default Spanish. Sorry about the flag for people in other places. But we'll do that for now. And then for the location, just leave it as the default. Okay. It's going to put it, there's a few places it can be. The default is a good, sensible, safe location. And the design here is that the thing I do on the server is make sure it can save to that folder. So if I click start translating, we'll get the interface. It might look a little bit overwhelming, but the good news is you barely need to use any of it. If you're just translating, all you need to do is go one string after another and translate it. So I'm going to do the example of the word GV Lingua translation. So I will take it and I will just type here Okay, pretty simple because we'll keep GV Lingua in the same language. And traducción, okay, I think that needs a special O. Traducción GV Lingua, all right. And then there was another one which was source post URL, just as a demonstration. URL del artículo de fuente. Sorry, Spanish people, if this isn't a good translation, it's just an example. So then I'll click save up here. And if there's something to save, you can save it. It says, okay, PO file saved and MO file compiled. You don't need to worry about that. It just means it saved your translation and it lives on the server now where it should be active. So if I come to the editor and reload, okay, I don't see it. Why? Because it's not in Spanish. So I'll show the other version here where if you go to the site settings, here we're in the site settings general. So this is only if you're an administrator, of course, but there's the site language. So if I change this to Spanish, it'll affect it for everyone and not just me. Save changes. All right, the site is, did that not work? Why didn't that work? That's fine. I'll come back in here. That's a bug or something, but I'll change mine because I saw that worked. Great. Okay, so now it's in Spanish. And if we come back and load the editor, we'll see that not only is everything else translated, but now the two strings we added, source post URL and GV Lingua translation, are translated. Traducción and URL del artículo de fuente. So that's the basics, right? That's essentially all you have to do. You come through and you go through one at a time and you do all of these and save it. So it's not that hard. I'll do one more that's a little more complicated, which is the featured image message, which is this message here, which we can see is still in English, even though we've started translating to Spanish. And the reason it's complicated is because it has these values, 800 pixels and 337 pixels. And the thing is, we don't translate those numbers because then if the numbers change, we'd have to translate it. It's ridiculous. So instead, the translation uses these little replacement strings. And I won't try and describe what it is, but you could see what it is. And the thing is, we leave those alone. So I'm going to go to translate.google. I'm going to put it in. Sorry, I know you probably wouldn't want to do it this way, but kindly Google Translate is actually used to this, so it leaves it alone. So if I copy the translation and come back and paste it, we could see that we have the string with the little replacements kept in their place, right? So you want to translate around those things, which isn't that hard. I just wanted to explain it. And also the other good thing to notice here is along with the original English string, there's a message for translators. And so what this is it's actually me in the code. I put a little message for you that explains what each string will be. And so it can be really useful. You don't need to worry about this button. I just wanted that link. For you, you don't really need to look at the source code. You just need to look here and say translators, and it says, okay, these things, the replacements, will be replaced with sizes in pixels like 800 pixels. All right, so that helps you understand if you're translating like how the text should be around those things, and maybe you want to move the words around and understand that in the end, and I'll reload here so we can see the effect, that the sentence has the pixels in it in the place where they were. So if you've done get text translation, if you've ever done software translation before, this is easy peasy, you're not surprised. But anyway, that's how the system works. You go through all of these. When in doubt, look for the information for translators here to see if there's something useful for you to check out. Do the translation, save. If possible, try to find it. Try to go and see, or at least whatever you've translated, take a look at the site and try and make sure that anywhere where you would expect to see that, it makes sense. Because sometimes you might, there might be when I see it, in person, I want to change it up a little bit. So anyway, that is the essence of using it. And those are my main tips of using the translator's message and how to deal with things like these little replacements. So next, I'll just review the ideas of the site language, the user language, and how it plays in with the general theme translator that GV uses. So the essence is, when it's working, setting the site language will set the default for everyone. And so that will control how the admin works and how the user language works. Oh yeah. So if I set my user language to default of the site, that was the mistake I made earlier, then it will be controlled by what the site has. So right now the site is set to Spanish and it'll show Spanish. And if I change it to English, it'll change it for everyone except someone who has set it in their personal. So that's just good to know to debug. If someone is saying it's not showing the right language, you could ask them, make sure it's on default if they want to have the one from the site, or make sure it's something else if they don't. Like if you have someone visiting the site who doesn't speak Spanish and the site is going to be in Spanish in this kind of way, then they could set it to English. And so, for example, if we set all of the sites to have their backend in the local languages, I would want to change my webmaster user to only use English in all of those sites. Okay. And so the thing to know is that language, whatever that language is, the one that WordPress is using, that's the one that's going to be controlled by Loco Translate. And of course, I'll just show you here. If you come back to the plugin later, you see the languages that were created and you can come and edit them to update it if you want to. But here's the thing. There's this other translator that most Lingua people in GV will be familiar with. Not everyone has seen this, but this is an old-fashioned piece of code I wrote a long time ago because I didn't want to commit to using this type of elaborate system that's standard. Probably we should have been doing it this way the whole time, but we've been doing it another way for a long time. We got a lot of strings in here, and on all the Lingua sites that exist, they've already been translated. So we're not planning to convert it all to use the default system where we would be doing all of this with Loco Translate. And this system has a nice feature that we take advantage of currently, which is that the front end of the site can be a different language than the back end because all of these strings control how the actual site works. Things like the buttons for buscar and everything, they can be in Spanish even when the site is in English, even when the language that we set in the settings and in our personal settings is English. As long as we translate all of this, I've made sure as I coded the plugin and the theme that we use on Global Voices that it will show in Spanish, traducido por, and all that stuff. So what does it mean for someone who's looking at Loco Translate? It means that you have to be ready for the weirdness that maybe like a lot of stuff on GV that you see can't be translated here because it's translated in this one. Every string is either in the GV theme translator or going to be in Loco Translate, with remembering that a lot of the stuff that's sort of in Loco Translate that uses this system is already there. All of WordPress is already translated into most languages. A lot of plugins are already translated into most languages, but the parts of the GV plugin that only apply to the backend are translated there. So some of this new stuff like the editor with the Lingua box, the featured image stuff, some of this stuff around the publishing checklist that gives you warnings, that's what's in the GV plugin here. So anyway, now you understand the stuff that's in Theme Translator will show exactly what you put in here, regardless of the language of the site, whether it's English or Spanish. Whereas the stuff you put in here is going to show depending on the language. So it might not show if you have it set to English, and if you want to see it, you have to set it to language. All right. Sorry if that's a bit repetitive. It's a bit of a brain teaser because we have these two systems. That's why I wanted to explain it extra. So finally, I'll just return to the guide. So all of this is explained in here. So if you watched this video and it didn't make sense, check out the guide. If you want to come back later, check out the guide. Thank you for watching. I hope it's helpful. And as always, get in touch with me. I'm Jer, and you can find me on the community site by searching for Jer or on the GV Slack. And let's talk about how to make it work better. All right. I love you. Bye-bye.